Paddy Pimblett, we need to talk. I have got the inside scoop on Paddy Pimblett, guys. And once you hear this, once you finish this video, it's going to change the way you view Paddy Pimblett. It's going to change the way you view the UFC. You are hearing it firsthand, the source of all sources, Casual Take MMA. If I stop, randomly making videos, if I randomly stop posting YouTube shorts, just know that they got me. They're going to try to shut me up after this gets around. Just know if I go missing, it was Paddy Pimblett via robbery decision. You're probably thinking, what do you mean? How is Paddy Pimblett an industry plant? I'm about to show you. Y'all stay with me because this is about to open your mind. Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. We're going back in the day, not too long ago, but a few years ago. This is where it all started. Paddy Pimblett gets a robbery decision over Jared Gordon. I'm sure many of you have seen the fight. I'm sure many of you out there watched this fight and thought that Jared Gordon won. I think that he should have won at least. Come to find out, the judges had pre-written scorecards 29-28 for Paddy Pimblett. That's just the word around town. I have inside sources to the UFC like I was saying. This is just the first straw of this UFC Paddy Pimblett conspiracy. This one's not that deep though. Obviously the UFC wants to push their star in Paddy Pimblett. He was already on a 3-fight win streak. I believe 3 fights into the UFC. I think this was his 4th. 3 finishes at the time. Paddy Pimblett fights a tough fight against a tough, durable guy in Jared Gordon. He gets tested. He gets his chin tested in this fight. Still puts up a good fight. I think it was a very close fight. Could be scored either way. So we're not going to think too hard on this one. This one's really a stretch on the conspiracy theory. It's only a small step, only step 1 of the stepping stones of the Paddy Pimblett conspiracy. Maybe some of y'all think I'm crazy already. Y'all might think Paddy Pimblett actually won the fight. I can see that argument, okay? I can see that argument. I need you to stay with me because this is only the first level of the Paddy Pimblett conspiracy because it only keeps going. It only gets worse and worse. But the majority of UFC fans believe Paddy Pimblett won a robbery decision in this fight. Let me remind you, Paddy Pimblett by decision at the time, plus 270, okay? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Paddy Pimblett also has ties to DraftKings. Again, you are not going to hear this message spread through social media. Once Paddy Pimblett hears and sees my video, he is a subscriber of the channel. Once he sees my video, it might be it for me. So I need y'all to spread the word, know where you heard the source from. And again, if anything happens to me, y'all know who it was. Again, this is only the first step in this conspiracy. This was the first level. Jared Gordon maybe won the fight. Maybe Paddy Pimblett won the fight. It doesn't matter. We see decisions like this, close decisions. People call them robberies all the time. But let's move on to the second level. What happened after he robbed Jared Gordon? They give him old man Tony Ferguson, who was riding, a 6-fight losing streak at the time? Maybe even 7. And before you start typing in the comments, you might be thinking, that's just what the UFC does. When they want to push a contender, they give him an old veteran of the sport. Maybe somebody who's fallen off on their way out. That is very true. That is very true. But Tony Ferguson did not even train MMA for this camp. I know some of y'all might have forgot this. Y'all might have just thought Paddy beat Tony Ferguson fair and square, right? Look at Tony Ferguson. Look at this man. He's with David Goggins. He's supposed to be training for an MMA fight. Instead, he puts himself through Hell Week, which is terrible for your body, terrible for your mental, right before you go into a fight with a young, hungry prospect. Again, they're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to think I'm crazy. Keep in mind, Paddy Pimblett has never been an underdog in any of his UFC fights. Remember the ties that I said that he has to DraftKings? The UFC, somebody's working with Paddy Pimblett from DraftKings, and somebody's making a ton of money every time Paddy steps into the octagon. That brings me back to the Jared Gordon fight. Somebody in relation to Paddy Pimblett had massive amounts of money on Paddy Pimblett by decision. Paddy Pimblett is worlds better than Jared Gordon on the ground. He could have finished him in the fight. Paddy knows that either one of his friends, one of his colleagues, I'm not sure who this mysterious figure is, but he knows that somebody's getting paid if he takes this to decision. And like I said, they had pre-written scorecards beforehand. So as long as he makes it the distance, him and his colleague, the mysterious figure, they're both getting paid. Again, they're going to say I'm crazy. They're going to say I'm crazy. The UFC is in a decline right now. Conor McGregor's gone. He's never coming back, more than likely. Paddy Pimblett's an industry plant. He is. He's got this goofy personality, the crazy haircut, this crazy style. He's not even that good. He's not even that good, right? But somehow he finds a way to win every single one of these fights and beating good top talent, right? Yes, they may be old, but they're elite fighters, right? That's what they want you to think. We're only at the tip of the iceberg, guys. So coming back to this mysterious figure, Paddy Pimblett versus an old, washed, beat up Tony Ferguson with no MMA training before the fight. Yes, he was in crazy shape, but you know why he was in crazy shape? Because there's investors and bettors out there that need this fight to go to decision. And if the fight goes to decision, the pre-written scorecards are going to give it to Paddy. Paddy Pimblett can't finish an old Tony Ferguson on a 7-fight losing streak. A little bit fishy, huh? Guys, I feel really uncomfortable with having to bring this topic up, but I just feel like the UFC world should know. Make sure they're not coming to get me yet. But guys, like I'm saying, I'm trying to shed some light on this topic because the UFC's headed in the wrong direction, man. But okay, sure, whatever. He beats Jared Gordon by decision, whatever. He can't finish a Tony Ferguson, who might be old, but he's durable. Sure. What else happened? Going into the very next fight, Bobby Green, another man who was the underdog against Paddy Pimblett. If you're fighting Paddy Pimblett, it doesn't matter if you're John Cena, you're going to be the underdog. Why is that? Something for y'all to think about. There's investors, there's people illegally betting on Paddy Pimblett that have relations to Paddy Pimblett. And looking at this picture, watching this fight, you might be thinking, well, this one didn't go to decision. What's going on? We were on to them. Casual Take MMA was on to them. They got to switch things up. So, Bobby Green's on it. Bobby Green's in on it. Actually changed his name to King Green before this fight. Why is that? So that Bobby Green, a.k.a. King Green, his alias, can be in on this investing/illegal gambling, because under the name Bobby Green, technically he's going to get in trouble. If he has this alias in King Green, he doesn't get caught. So Bobby Green, pretty good striker. His chin's not all the way there, but he's definitely a better striker than Paddy Pimblett. I believe everybody in the UFC would agree with that statement before this fight, that Bobby Green needs to keep it standing, right? That's his best chance to win this fight. Bobby Green, Paddy Pimblett, and their team obviously had money on Paddy Pimblett by submission. And I don't even think it's that crazy. They might have even had Paddy Pimblett by round 1 submission to even boost their odds, boost their payday even more. Well, okay, Paddy Pimblett could just be that good, right? He could just be that good. Submission threat, obviously. Very dangerous on his back. How did he get to his back? Let's rewind a little bit to this fight. Bobby Green on the feet, right? Wants to stay on the feet, you would think. Bobby Green shoots a takedown on Paddy Pimblett. Very sus, if you ask me. So when Bobby Green attempts this takedown, of course his neck's just exposed, but he's a trained mixed martial artist, a professional mixed martial artist, right? He should know, not to get caught in a guillotine, bro. He's like 38. He's had plenty of experience. I don't care how good you are. If you've been in the game that long, you shouldn't be getting caught in guillotines. So he gets caught in a guillotine, okay? Mid-guillotine, Paddy Pimblett and Bobby Green telepathically are thinking to themselves, this is too obvious, bro. I'm too old. I'm a vet of the sport. I can't be getting caught in a guillotine in 2024, right? So what does Paddy Pimblett do? He transitions from a guillotine to a triangle choke / armbar and chokes Bobby Green to sleep. I think it's an early stoppage if you ask me. Bobby Green obviously was faking being asleep. He was not unconscious. He's acting like he's unconscious so they can stop the fight so he doesn't have to take any damage. And so obviously he can get paid. So you just got to open your eyes, man. The information's right in front of you. I have the inside scoop. I have correlations and connections to Dana White, Joe Rogan, Hunter Campbell, but I can't disclose how I got access to this information. It was leaked. The Paddy Pimblett files were leaked. I shouldn't have had my hands on them, and it's only a matter of time before they come and get me. Guys, you just got to open your eyes and see what's really going on with the UFC. They want to push a new star. They want a new Conor McGregor because the UFC is on a decline right now. Conor McGregor obviously was making so much money for the UFC. They need a new big star. And this is what they're doing, illegally. Yes, the UFC is feeding Paddy Pimblett washed up fighters, and that's their excuse. That's their way out. That's how Paddy Pimblett keeps winning, and that's what they want us to think. They want us to think, yeah, he's beating up good fighters, but they're old. He's a young fighter. I don't know, man. Okay, so who did Paddy fight most recently after he fought an old Bobby, aka King Green, his alias? Keep that in mind. Who did he fight next? 38-year-old Michael Chandler, who is now 2-5 in the UFC. Michael Chandler, yes, the same Michael Chandler who was a former killer, a former Bellator champion, I think 2-time, maybe even 3-time Bellator champion. How are you losing to Paddy Pimblett? And not just losing to Paddy Pimblett, you're getting dominated. That was not the same Michael Chandler we're used to seeing in the octagon. Obviously, he was pulling his punches. Michael Chandler even connected with a big right hand that would have put people to sleep, right? Paddy Pimblett has this persona, has this thing that he pushes around that he's got a granite chin. Scousers can't get knocked out. Michael Chandler was pulling his punches. Now, there's a whole nother separate conspiracy about Michael Chandler. I posted over on my TikTok. Michael Chandler has been working, I don't know if it's with the same guy with DraftKings, but he has his own private investor, if you will. Michael Chandler, he's going to find a way to win or lose a fight in craziest fashion. He's going to get you the biggest plus odds play on the table. He's going to get knocked out by Paddy Pimblett. He's going to get knocked out by Charles Oliveira. Submitted by Dustin Poirier. Go to a decision with Gaethje. And then another decision with Charles Oliveira in the rematch. It doesn't make sense. But I'm not buying into this Paddy Pimblett hype, bro. It's scripted. UFC is now a partner of WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, which is also scripted wrestling. I think they taught the UFC a thing or two. That's all I'm saying. I'm trying to tell y'all without telling y'all. I can't even give y'all all the details. I can't give you everything that I know, or they're really going to come after me. But Michael Chandler, former Bellator champion, should not be losing to Paddy Pimblett and getting TKO'd in a dominant fashion. But shout out to them. As long as they keep getting away with it, Michael Chandler obviously sold the fight. He obviously got a fat paycheck for losing to Paddy Pimblett because the UFC pays him directly. Then their private investors with DraftKings pays him as well. He probably made a good $5 million from this fight alone. Now, I don't know if it's a different private investor every single time they place a bet on a Paddy Pimblett fight because they're going to get caught. They're going to get caught. I'm on to them right now. Detective Casual Take is on to them. And if word gets around, the whole world's going to know. We need to put Paddy Pimblett behind bars. Whoever's behind this whole gig, we've had enough of it, buddy. We want to see a real fight with Paddy Pimblett. In the last slide, we've got one more slide. It's going to be the craziest one. This kind of ties everything together, okay? Let's go ahead and see what it is. Okay. UFC 282, okay? This was years ago. This was, I believe, in 2022. What correlation does this have? Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria beefing at a press conference. First of all, how do these two even know each other? What is their beef? The UFC has been scripting this Paddy Pimblett Ilia Topuria storyline for 3 years now. I mean, you can look in the picture. Darren Till's smiling. He knows exactly what's going on. Look at Dana White. He's got a grin himself. He's looking at Paddy Pimblett. He's smiling. He's got money signs over his eyes like Mr. Krabs. But Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria is looking like it's more and more likely every single day. Ilia Topuria just randomly decides to vacate his title as the featherweight champion and move up to lightweight. What division is Paddy Pimblett in? Lightweight. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down now? Now that I'm thinking on it, they probably did the same exact thing with Ilia Topuria to get to this situation. They're trying to build a super fight. They haven't had a massive rivalry in the UFC in a while now. Ilia Topuria, come on. Ilia Topuria really knocked out Volkanovski. I don't even believe that fight was real. I believe that whole fight was AI'd on the screen. I don't think Volk could get knocked out like that. And then Max Holloway. Yeah, this man of all people is knocking out the granite chin of Max Holloway. We can make a whole separate video about that. Max Holloway does not get KO'd. Volkanovski getting beat in his prime, buddy. I've already seen the AI video against Islam, and then they made another one. They just happened to make another one. Or Volkanovski just gets knocked out 2 fights in a row. Real funny story, bro. But the UFC is going to unmeasurable lengths to push Paddy Pimblett into this new Conor McGregor role. And they're doing the same thing with Ilia Topuria, as you can see right here. They're setting up this massive fight. Now we're hearing talks of Paddy Pimblett versus Charles Oliveira. Just know if that fight gets booked, Charles Oliveira is going to take a fat payday to sell the fight. somehow Paddy Pimblett's going to find a way to submit Charles Oliveira probably. Whatever the juiciest odds are, just go ahead and lock in Paddy Pimblett on there if you want to make money. Look, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just on to these dudes. I'm on to these private investors, bro. Now, I'm not one of them myself or anything. I'm definitely not behind this whole scandal, but I just want to inform you guys. And then, of course, when Ilia Topuria joins the lightweight division, Islam wants to move up to welterweight. I'm just adding icing on the cake. It's just setting up a perfect storyline for these two to fight. This fight that's been brewing for 3 years, okay? You're not slick. The UFC is not slick. As soon as Ilia Topuria joins the lightweight division, Islam Makhachev wants to leave. They're probably just going to make Ilia Topuria versus Paddy for the next title fight anyways, and it just kind of all circles back around to this whole WWE type script, bro. I just thought I had to shed some light on that. Guys, if you're watching this, y'all be careful out there. They're probably going to come for you as well. They're definitely coming for me. Paddy Pimblett's going to be coming for my head now. Pause. But y'all be sure to like the video, comment something for the algorithm, because we got to spread this message. We got to shed some light on this. We got to spread it around the UFC world. We got to put it into this right here, right now. Paddy Pimblett, I'm on to you, buddy.